For anyone who's continuing to log in, we have one more student coming along. We were just talking about a day in the life of an education major. So feel free to ask any questions if you missed the intro. I'm Sarah. This is Dr. Gold, and this is our current student, Natalie, who just finished speaking. But if you do have any questions, please feel free to ask them. If not, I have some. Oh, we've got one already. What does a minor in education look like compared to the major? I guess, Dr. Gold, if you want to speak to the minor requirements, are you aware of kind of the different? Yeah, you are. But we can't hear you. You're muted. There we go.
Ultimately, the goal would be to get you on track to fulfill all the course requirements and do the field hours that would get you into the student teaching and then finally into the phase where you would be able to obtain your licensure. Natalie is doing the history component as a minor because she wants to get enough course credits. And Natalie, if it's okay that I'm speaking for you, so that at some point, ultimately, she could probably also get her certification as a New York State certified social studies teacher. My recommendation would be that you follow the education as a major, not necessarily as a minor, because this way it leads you to all the credits that you need, and the program is very laid out and specific in terms of the education course. We're an approved program by the New York State Education Department, so we follow the program requirements as laid out by New York State. And so you would be an education major and then minor perhaps in something else, or have a dual major, or perhaps like Natalie has several majors. She is focused, that's for sure. And in the end, you would come out with your state certification in elementary and special education. And then if we had a minor and enough credits, you would go towards another certification. And we do evaluate your transcript. In fact, we just had a department meeting where we're evaluating transcripts already and looking at some graduate students who are going into our 712 program and what they need in order to fulfill their content area requirements. But for elementary, very clear, founded, and specific program that tailors to the needs of an elementary education classroom, and it will get you to go for your career.
So basically, if you want to teach in the Department of Education, you need to have the certification. So you really should go for that major instead of the minor. But if education is something that's interesting to you, Katie, you can minor in it instead of doing the major. You just won't have those certifications the same way that you would as either a master in getting your bachelor's in education or getting a master's with the certification. But that dual certification makes you 2 times as employable because you're getting the general education certification, but you're also applying for the special education certification too. And Dr. Gold and Natalie know, special education teachers are very sought after. It's not everybody has certifications. Natalie, do you have any input on, do you know anyone with a minor in education, or are most of your friends majors?
So I'm pretty sure that all of the students that I'm in a class right now with are majors, are the dual majors. But last semester I had a class with a couple students who were interested in doing the minor. And they more so did it because they were kind of looking to go into counseling or something like that. Or they had planned on getting their master's in something else related to education, or kind of like going into sports in schools or something like that. So I know a lot of students that they had like a psychology major and the education as a minor, so that they did have, the background to be able to work in the schools, but maybe not just as a teacher.
Great answer. Wonderful. Hopefully that covered all your bases, Katie. Like I said, I might be repeating myself, but if anyone joining in does have any questions, please put them in the Q&A and I will let the panelists know. In the meantime, I'm curious to know, Natalie, were you always an education major, or did you discover your love for teaching at Wagner?
So growing up, I always say like, oh, I played teacher, whatever, but also a lot of kids did. So, but my senior year of high school, I actually did an internship in the athletic trainer's office at a college near me. So coming into Wagner, I was actually a biopsychology major and I wanted to pursue physical therapy school. Um, I soon learned after I took my first anatomy class that maybe that wasn't the right path for me. Um, but I took my first education class in my fall semester of my sophomore year with Dr. Gonzalez, and I fell in love with it. It was something that I knew that I wanted to do, but I just never had put my foot in the ring yet. So after I took that class, I was really excited to pursue the major.
That's great. Yeah, it's always interesting to know the people who just knew they were a teacher or who discovered it once they were there. Um, this is a big question that I get quite often for any type of major. What kind of internships are there at Wagner? So, what kind of internship opportunities, student teaching, observation hours, kind of things does an education major do? Which you'll be doing next year, Natalie.
Dr. Gold, you're muted.
Oh.
Do it every time. You got to see what it's like to have me with an online class. So, Sarah, to answer that question, the New York State Education Department sets the number of hours that are required for what we call field observation hours as the first part, and then the culminating portion, which is the student teaching part. So it's a total for the field observation hours of 440, and that's handled over a number of semesters. So don't feel too overwhelmed by that number. I know it certainly sounds like a lot, but it does happen for a number of classes, for a number of semesters. And while it sounds like, oh my God, how am I going to figure out a way to do all the hours? I think Natalie can attest to this as a student who has been involved in that experience. It is very doable. We have partnerships with different schools, elementary, middle schools in the general area of Wagner College, and students go in. The teachers are very welcoming. They go into classrooms, they watch, they observe, they help. They're very much welcomed as part of a class. And then the last semester is dedicated to the student teaching experience, which is another 440 hours. It translates essentially to 14 weeks. And it's really the full-time experience in the school, immersing yourself into the classroom, collaborating with colleagues, writing lesson plans, acclimating yourself to the professionalism that's involved in being a teacher. All of the things that you learn during the classes that we'll do together, and you with Dr. Washington, Dr. Duncan, and applying it in a classroom so that when you are done with that experience and you finish all your exams and fingerprinting and applied for certification, that you are ready to go in the classroom. And it's a challenging, fun, exciting time. And being a methods teacher now for 2 classes, having Natalie and her classmates for both, watching them do their field experience hours, although this semester is a little strange in the sense that schools are closed, but we still did some of our field experience hours in other ways. But when the semester was actually happening before this horrible COVID-19 crisis, Natalie and her classmates were in the schools, in classrooms, working with kids, watching things teachers did, good, bad, or indifferent, learning, and then coming back to our classes, and we were having great discussions about what they saw and how things were going. And I look forward to hopefully next semester in the fall when we're back to it, getting things done the way we want to, and being satisfied with the work in terms of going to schools and learning about what it takes to be a great teacher.
Natalie, how has your observation hours that Dr. Gold was just talking about, how have they been going, and how, I guess, before the remote teaching more, and maybe share one of your experiences before we go on to the next question?
Yeah, of course. So my experience with observation hours is, since I'm very busy, I can only go in like certain little splurts of time. So my advice is find a friend with a car, that'll let you borrow their car, because more, it's definitely easier to get to the schools, I'd say, from your personal transportation, rather than trying to find a couple friends that can go with you to, have one of the Wagner shuttles bring you. Even though it's like super nice that they have that available for all the students to use. But the hours that Dr. Gold has provided us through, since this crisis has started, are beneficial enough, I think, to substitute not being able to go into the schools, because it allows us to look at a classroom and a classroom teacher through the lens of YouTube rather than in person. And it still kind of portrays what we need to see in order for us to learn how to be a proper classroom teacher.
Thank you. We have another question. How difficult is it to double major with elementary education and theater performance compared to doing the dual theater education major? I'll start.
This is
one.
Sarah's a good one to answer this, and also Sam, who hopefully will be on the call. I think that's also her. I think that's what she does. I think she's dual elementary and theater.
Yeah.
So
she's probably theater studies, because, to be honest, as we go over on as I go over on audition day and the parent panel, that it's very difficult to double major in theater performance and anything at Wagner. There's a very small handful of students who do, and they're usually doing it with arts administration or theater tech, because there are so many overlaps with the two, of theater performance and theater tech, or theater performance and arts admin. I can tell you from being a theater studies major in my bachelor's, you take a lot of the same classes that a theater performance major would take anyway. So as a theater performance major, the only classes that they take that nobody else can take is acting 1 through 5. And then there's musical theater 1 and 2. Those are close to the 32 to 36 students that we yield as theater performance majors. Now, a theater studies major can take acting, performance-based classes, just not the same ones as the, acting 1 through 5. So you're still taking the foundation courses with theater performance majors. So script analysis, intro to theater history, or musical theater history, intro to tech and design. If you're theater studies, you're taking literary analysis and theory, British literature. So those are a few. The more the English courses are for theater studies, but the first 4 that I mentioned overlap with theater performance anyway. So as a theater education major, you're going to be taking a lot of the 4 that I just, perfect timing, Sam. Hi, don't worry about it. We were just talking about dual majoring in theater education, theater performance, and elementary education. Difficult, but because of the demand of a theater performance major, I would say it's going to be too difficult to be an education major too. Education minor, yes. But if your heart is set on education, I would say do the theater education major, because you're taking a lot of the same courses that a theater performance major would take. You're just not taking those acting based classes. You're taking the script analysis, the intro to tech and design, theater history, musical theater history, on top of your education majors.
That's what I'm doing right now, Sarah.
There we go.
So
which one?
Theater education. I paired them, the dual major.
Yeah. Well, then you tell Katie more about that because it's
Hi, Katie. Sorry I'm late to the party. No, I am taking classes just like Sarah explained. The theater major requirement half of the dual is a lot. It's definitely just as demanding as the education major would be. But if you love theater and that's like one of your passions along with education, it's so worth it. I could say that doing it right now, I love it to death. I take stage makeup, I'm taking script analysis, I'm doing an intro to design where I build set pieces, which is super cool. So you really do get the best of both worlds, and it's totally doable. People fear the dual major sometimes because it's like two majors, that's a lot of work. It's not bad, it's totally doable, and I enjoy it a lot. I'm really happy where I ended up actually. So